Oh, no, take this off. Alrighty. Hoy. And then what was the last one? Oh, yeah. Okay, let's get this out the way. Let's get this out the way. Let's get this out the way. This should be a good one. It should be a good one. But we'll see how this goes. All right, we are good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? What is good? What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Obviously, we got some games to talk about. Man, it has been a very slow week, man. Like wildcard weekend, I mean, it was kind of slow, but low key, it felt like it was going at a reasonable pace. It's been a very slow week. Today's Thursday, but it's just been a very slow week. Like, once we get to the weekend, it's all good. Because once Saturday games come, it's all good. Playoffs are here. But, like, between now and Saturday, it just feels very slow. Like, tomorrow's going to be a slow day, too. So, you gotta find a way to preoccupy your time and just doing other things and getting into other hobbies. But, yeah, it's been a slow week. It's been a slow week, which, honestly, I hope that's not going to be happening for the AFC title games between the four teams that do advance. But yeah, it's been a very slow week, but we do have some divisional games that will be played this weekend. So obviously, we had 8 teams that advanced in the wild card round. These 8 teams will be fighting for a chance to go to the AFC and NFC championship game. And all these games should be interesting. I'm hopeful that we will be having great matchups through and through, but we have to see how things go. We absolutely have to see how things go. I don't know how this is going to turn out for the most part, but we do have to see how things are going to go. Hopefully, this is one of those times where we will get a great matchup all throughout the aspect. And the fun part about this divisional matchup is we actually have a divisional round where 3 of the 4 games are rematches of this year. The Texans and Chiefs, it's a rematch of the game that happened a few weeks back. Obviously, Ravens-Bills is a rematch of week 4. And the Rams and Eagles is a rematch from when? Was it week 11? I think it was week 11, week 12 when they had met up. So we actually have things to look at and talk about and discuss when it comes to said matchups. And we have to get into that aspect to speak on how things go. So we have 4 great games here. Should be fun, should be interesting, and I think we should start in the order that the games will be happening. So let me not waste any more of your time with some random banter. Let's get right into the predictions. So here we go. Divisional round. Opening up divisional round will be Saturday, 4:30 Eastern Time, between the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. So Houston is going back to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Now, this is going to be an interesting matchup because these two teams met up a few weeks back, and the game was a lot more closer than you would expect it to be. We talked about how the Texans so far this year have just been underwhelming. The injuries have killed their offense. CJ Stroud's having a sophomore slump. He's not played his best, and yet somehow they're in the divisional round. And the way they played coming into the divisional round should at least give you some hope if you're a Texans fan that they'll be able to do a good job against the Chiefs, specifically because of what they did defensively against the Chargers, not to mention how the defense played when they met up with Kansas City last time. So let's speak of last time here. Because it was only a few weeks ago. This was pretty much the final game that was essentially, no, it was the second to last game the Kansas City Chiefs starters played. They needed to beat the Texans and then beat the Steelers on Christmas to secure the number 1 seed. So this game was played in Arrowhead, and if you remember, the Texans actually went out there and made this a game. Like, it wasn't a situation where Houston was just getting manhandled and bullied by Kansas City. Kansas City definitely did have some of their struggles against this defense because the pass rushing unit was so good in this game, and they constantly put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Now, that's not to say that they were getting him down to the ground, no, but they were putting a lot of pressure and forcing Mahomes to get rid of the ball a lot. And Mahomes wasn't even playing at his best in this game, so you got to give credit here. Just taking a look at some of the stats from the last matchup they had a few weeks back. CJ Stroud, 23 of 39, 244, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This is unfortunately the game where Tank Dell did suffer that injury. He caught that touchdown pass that made it 17-16, but he had suffered that gruesome injury where he dislocated his kneecap and tore a bunch of ligaments in his knee. That was unfortunate for them. And obviously with the tragic aspect of that, all the momentum was gone. They missed the extra point, which would have made it 17-17. And after that, they only put up 3 points of offense. So yeah, through the first quarter, Kansas City had the advantage throughout the first half. But Houston fought to make it a close game, and then you have that opportunity to tie the game up, which they do. But once Tank Dell went down, everything kind of went bad. Nico Collins did have himself a game, but Tank Dell was the guy that was really going off before the injury, so it was unfortunate. Joe Mixon ran the ball fairly well here, 14 carries, 57 yards, 4 yards a carry. CJ Stroud had to take off a few times here. Dealing with the Chiefs front seven is tough because they do know how to stop the run. So Joe Mixon actually was having himself a tough day against these guys, but it was still being relatively effective. So that was a good aspect here. The defense was doing a fair job on Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes, 28 of 41, 260, a touchdown, no interceptions, passer rating of 93.5, but a QBR of 86.9. So he was playing fairly well throughout, but they had done a good job on him. Kareem Hunt also was not running amok on the Texans defense, but they did allow over 100 yards rushing. Mahomes did take off a few times. He used his legs and scrambled, and he actually scored on the first, I believe it was the opening touchdown for them. The first touchdown the Chiefs scored was a Mahomes scramble. I remember that because everyone coming into that game was questioning whether or not he'd be healthy because of the ankle injury. And Buddy ran and damn near trucked the dude on the way to the end zone to get a touchdown. And everyone was like, so are you sure this dude got an ankle injury? Because he just ran, and apparently he got this ankle injury. So yeah, that's how that went. Either way, Kansas City pretty much took control of that game for the most part and winded it down. Houston was deflated after the loss of Tank Dell, and the Chiefs got the best of that matchup. So now they get to play again in Kansas City Saturday night. So how does this matchup go? Well, to be honest, everyone knows the aspect of this really leans towards Kansas City. Let's talk offense. Offensively, the Chiefs do have the advantage because the Texans are just riddled with injuries. I mean, the two guys that was supposed to help take this offense to another level, in Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, both out with season-ending injuries. You're relying heavily on Nico Collins. And if you saw the wild card round against the Chargers, it was Nico Collins or nothing for much of the game. Yeah, Dalton Schultz is there, but it's really Nico Collins or nothing. So that makes it limited with how the Texans can play offensively. And they did not play a great game against the Chargers. It was more so the defense that helped them out. Meanwhile, with the Chiefs' offense, they got back their guys. The only person that's really missing is Rashid Rice. But, they got back Pacheco. They got back Hollywood Brown. You still have Travis Kelce there. And obviously, they have DeAndre Hopkins. And you have Xavier Worthy. I mean, they've got weapons all over the place. Quarterback, they have the advantage at the quarterback position. They have the advantage at the offensive line position. They have the advantage at the receiving position. The Texans do have the advantage in the running back aspect because Mixon is a better running back than Pacheco. But it's not much advantages for the Texans offensively. So the advantage offensively goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Defensively, again, the advantage goes to Kansas City. Not by a wide margin, though. The secondary, for the most part, for both Houston and Kansas City is damn good. It's damn good. It's damn good. But what's even better is a pass rush. Now, secondary-wise, the Texans have a really strong defense, but Kansas City's defense their secondary has been lights out. They don't give up these type of big plays. Their secondary has been lights out. The Texas defense, and specifically their secondary, has been balling out this year as well. They've done a great job, but that secondary of Kansas City's, man, trying to throw against that secondary has been nightmares for teams, man. I think they have a slight advantage. I'll say they have a slight advantage with the secondary unit. I also give them somewhat of a slight advantage when it comes to the linebacking unit. But if we're talking about strictly the pass rushing unit, the advantage goes to the Texans, man. Now, obviously, with that D-line, you have Chris Jones, no question. But with what Will Anderson Jr. and that crew is doing right now and how they're just wrecking offensive lines and consistently putting pressure on the quarterbacks, I feel it's fair to give a minor advantage to the pass rushing unit. Maybe you could say overall the D-line, because of the emphasis of Chris Jones, may be slightly better than Houston's, but the aspect of the pass rushing unit, I feel like overall is better or slightly better with Houston as opposed to Kansas City. I might be reaching too much with that, but I just look at both Houston and Kansas City's defense. I give Kansas City the overall advantage, but I don't think it's much of a gap, especially with the way the Texans have played defense at times. We've seen how they play defense in games like Buffalo, where they've played well enough to limit Josh Allen, those offensive weapons. And we saw what they did to Justin Herbert last week in the wildcard round. If they can consistently get pressure like that, that will be problematic. But at the same time, there's a huge difference between trying to do that against Herbert and trying to do that against Mahomes. There's a huge difference. So, slight advantage defensively goes to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just a better overall team. There's a reason why they have the best record in the NFL. There's a reason why they're the number one seed. There's a reason why they're favored to pull off something that's never been done in NFL history, and that's three-peat. Everyone expects them to win. Everyone knows they're the favorite. Everyone knows they have the better team. They're expected to get it done. So when you look at Houston, what can they even do in this situation? I mean, they're going up against a better offense. They're going up against a better defense. What can they do in this situation? Not much you can do offensively. All I would have to say offensively is you got to execute somehow, one way or another. And this is the difficult part, because that defense and that D-line with Chris Jones is fearsome. But one way or another, the Texans have to find a way to get this running game going with Joe Mixon. If they cannot run the ball, they have no shot in this game. They have no shot in this game if they cannot run the ball. So it's going to come down to them running the ball, and Nico Collins is going to have a A-tier game. Not even, he needs to have an A-plus tier game. This is such a difficult aspect, man. It's so difficult. Kansas City's such a huge favorite in this. Offensively, there's not much you can really look at here, man. You need something from that run game. You need something. Mixon has to have a huge game. The Mixon has to. That offense has to provide something consistent enough to match up with Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. So you need Mixon to have a great game. He has to be able to consistently run against that D-line of Kansas City. And Nico Collins has to have a great game. He needs to have an A-plus game. But you also need guys like Dalton Schultz to be able to step up and make plays. And CJ, he's going to have to play the best game of his season. That's the only way the Texans have a chance offensively. Defensively, they need to be able to bring consistent pressure. That defense gave Mahomes some trouble when they met up, but he still got the victory. If that defense plays the way they played against the Chargers, they've got a shot. If they can find a way to consistently get pressure on Mahomes without blitzing, because you cannot blitz Mahomes, if you can consistently get pressure with a 3 or 4 man rush, which the Texans are capable of doing, if they can consistently get pressure on Mahomes, they have a shot here. It's going to start and end with their defense, but their offense has to give them something consistent. If the offense is not scoring points, they're in trouble. Mahomes is not throwing 4 picks like Justin Herbert. That's not happening. So that defense needs help. They need help. They're going to try to make as much stops and frustrate Mahomes as much as possible. The offense has to show them something. It just comes down to that. Because if we're going to talk about the Chiefs, what do they need to do? Play their game. They're the better offense, better defense. This is Mahomes, Kelsey, and Andy Reid in the playoffs. They've been here before. They know what they're doing. They're the dynasty. There's nothing to worry about. They don't need to have a specific game plan that needs to be executed, which obviously they're going to have a game plan that they're going to execute. But we know what they do in the playoffs. So no one needs to ask about, oh, the Chiefs defense has to. We know what the Chiefs defense is going to do. The Chiefs defense is going to look to stop the run. They're going to force CJ Stroud to deal with constant pressure and have to get the ball out quickly. They're going to force him to make mistakes as well. We know what their defense is going to do. They've got a lockdown secondary and a top-tier D-line. We know what the Chiefs are going to do defensively. Offensively, they got the greatest quarterback of this generation and one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Top 2, top 3, wherever you want to put him. You got that. You got arguably the greatest tight end of all time. And you got arguably the greatest offensive-minded coach we've seen in NFL history. They know what they're going to do offensively. They got pieces all over the place. They're going to get Hollywood Brown involved. They're going to get Xavier Worthy involved. They're going to get DeAndre Hopkins involved. And we know what the Chiefs are going to do. We know what the Chiefs are going to do. It's about the Texans figuring out how they can stay in the game. And that comes down to their defense, putting consistent pressure on Mahomes without blitzing. And offensively, Joe Mixon has to go off and have a great game, and Nico Collins has an A-plus game. Dalton Schultz has to be another guy that helps contribute majorly, and CJ Stroud has to have the best game of the season. That's the only chance. But with that being said, again, I just don't see how the Houston Texans go into Kansas City and beat this Chiefs team. Rust, no rust, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter to me. Like with the Chiefs, rust, no rust, I've watched them rest players and be out for significant time and still go into the playoffs and do what they need to do. Rust, no rust, it's not going to work against this dynasty. So I don't see how Houston gets out of Kansas City with a win. I'm taking the Chiefs in this one. Kansas City, again, offensively haven't been majorly explosive, so I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game in terms of 30-plus points. In fact, Kansas City did not score 30-plus points a single time this year, but they don't need to score 30-plus points when their team can hold teams to under 20. When their defense can hold teams to under 20, they don't need to score 30-plus points. So I'm going to pick, I think it's going to be somewhat similar, maybe 24-17, 24-17, 24-17, maybe 24-14, I don't know. 24-14, 24-17. Chiefs going to get the win. I don't see how the Texans are going to go into Arrowhead and beat that team. I just don't see that happening. So yeah, that's probably the easiest matchup to look out of all of these. Next up, we've got the Saturday night game, and I'm not even going to lie to you, man. This is one of those ones where I'm thinking with my heart, not my head. I'm going to say it right now. We've got the Washington Commanders going up against the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have been the best team in the NFC. They've arguably been the best team in football. They're destroying teams. They're just killing it all over the place. Washington's been having a fantastic year, fantastic rookie season. Jaden Daniels has us all believing that he can get it done no matter what the circumstances is. And this has been a fantastic rookie year by him. I love what I'm seeing, and I just want this to continue. And I hope the Commanders can build off of this season and actually turn this into a legit Super Bowl contending team very soon, because this dude is the real deal. Now, I'm going to say it right here. We're just going to get the logical aspect out of this. Offensively, the advantage goes to the Lions. They have the better offense. To make matters even better to make matters even better for the Lions and worse for the Commanders, they're getting back David Montgomery. He most likely plays. So Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, they have that. We already know what they have in the receiving core with St. Brown. They have so many weapons to utilize on the pass game, man. Offensively, they're the better team. They're a better offensive team than the Commanders. Defensively, despite the injuries, they're still a better defensive team than the Commanders. They're just a better overall team. We know the Lions are just a better overall team. Not to mention, the Commanders' defense is not great. They're not great against the pass. They're even worse against the run. They can't consistently stop the run, and yet somehow they're going to have to figure out how they're going to stop David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. So, yeah. They're not. There's no possible matchup that you can see here that would make you logically think the Lions aren't going to win this game. They're just the better overall team. The Lions are the better overall team. They got the better offense, better defense, arguably better special teams. Dan Campbell's arguably been the best coach in football this year. They just have everything better. That's just how it is. They have everything better. With that being said, I'm taking the Commanders. I don't give a damn. With that being said, I don't give a damn. Jaden Daniels has everybody in the DMV believing. Listen, He's done wonders with this team. No matter what the circumstances, no matter what the situation is, he has found a way to get it done. I will stick with this. I don't care. The logical pick is the Lions are going to win and they're going to host the NFC title game. Not a soul will be surprised. The Commanders can't stop the run to save their lives. That defense is not great. The secondary is getting cooked. We know. With that being said, I'm going down with my shield. Jaden Daniels has all of us believing. I think he's about to be up there as one of the rookies that actually got to the title game. Right up there with Flacco, right up there with Roethlisberger. He is going to take this team to the promised land. He has everybody believing. And as long as you've got a guy like that, that makes you believe, he will make you play beyond what you're capable of. Jaden Daniels helping this team win their first playoff game since 2005. The energy with that team has got to be high. They know they have a tall task going into Detroit. They know they have a tall task going into Detroit, especially defensively. Because how are they going to stop Montgomery and Gibbs? How are they going to stop that high-octane passing game? How? I'll tell you how. All they got to do is make a few stops. One or two. This is going to be a shootout. Do you look at that? Have you seen the Lions defense? The Lions defense is shredded with injuries. The Lions defense is shredded with injuries. All their guys shredded with injuries. Go look at the list of the guys they're missing. Jaden Daniels is going to turn this into a shootout. The only way the Commanders can win this is in a shootout. This will not be a low-scoring game. That defense can't lock up nothing worth a damn. When Jaden Daniels steps on that field, he's going to make magic happen. Guess what? They won. They won against the Bucs. They didn't punt the ball once. We ain't punting. I already told y'all when I saw the matchup, Dan Quinn and Dan Campbell don't give a damn. They go for it on fourth down. We are not punting the ball. We're not punting. There's no punts. No punts. So all I need the Commanders defense to do, you're going to stink for much of this. But when Dan Campbell says, let's go for it on fourth down, you just got to make that stop. You just got to make that stop. You're going to give up points. You're going to get gashed in the running game. They're going to run up the score. All I ask you to do is when Dan Campbell has that look in his eyes and you know he's walking around the sideline, not even hesitating, and then they pan over to Ben Johnson reading the play call, you know they're going for it on fourth down. Make a play. That's it. Make a play. You make that stop on fourth down. Trust and believe Jaden's going to take the offense down the field and they're going to score. There ain't going to be no punting in this game. We're going Madden rules with this. We are not punting the ball. We are not punting the ball. And against the depleted Lions defense, I will give Jaden Daniels a shot. This is going to be a shootout. May the best team win. All I know is if JD5 got the ball to finish the game, it's over. I don't care what the score is. I don't care what the circumstances. 3 minutes left to go in the game. If JD5 is on the field with the offense, it's over. Wrap it up. They're going to the NFC title game. That's all I need. It's going to be a shootout. That's it. You just got to hope and you got to believe. We already know the facts of the situation. That's why I already said no one be surprised if Detroit wins. Most people expect them to be dominating the game. In fact, let me see what the line is on this one. They're favored. Actually, they're favored by 5. They're like what? They got the 5.5 favorite. So they're favored by a good chunk, but not enough to make people think that this can't be a huge upset. This, I mean, not that. It's favored enough for them to be, obviously, they get 3 points at home, so being favored 5.5 is huge. So it's not to the point where everyone would expect it to be a blowout, but it's not to the point where everyone would think it'd be a close game. Either way, the Commanders have to be perfect offensively, and they just got to make a few stops defensively. No punts. Listen, Dan Quinn, if Dan Campbell's not going to punt the football, you don't punt the football. If Dan Quinn's going to go for it on fourth down every single time, you go for it on fourth down every single time. We will live with the results. We will live with the results. I'm taking the Commanders. I don't give a damn. JD has everybody in the DMV believing. And as long as we can believe in him, we will go out on the shield. If they get eliminated, hey, it's the best year is the best year since, 91, 92? You build off of this to become a legit Super Bowl contender. But you going out on your shield. I believe in JD5, and he will uplift this team to the NFC title game, where they will face the winner of the Eagles and Rams. So I got the Commanders pulling off the upset. No logic behind it. Nothing but heart, nothing but belief, nothing but faith. Logically, the Lions are going to wreck this team because they can't stop the run defensively. But we're going to see what happens. At the end of the day, game got to be played. 60 minutes. JD ain't getting blown out. That's all I'm saying. So we're going to see what happens. So yeah, Commanders, that's my pick. All heart, all faith, all belief. Logically, give it to the Lions. They'll host the NFC title game. That's to be expected. Next up, we have... Oh, God. How do I judge this game? How do I judge this game? How the hell do I judge this game? We've got the LA Rams taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's in Philadelphia, by the way. How the hell am I supposed to judge this game? This is the one game on the list where I felt one way. But I feel like if I continue to talk another way and continue to discuss this team another way, I feel like I'm going to find a way to convince myself to change my pick. So the Rams and Eagles met up back in, week 11? I'm looking at the schedule here for the Rams. It was, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that was right, week 11. They met up week 11. And in that week 11 game, Saquon ran all over that defense. Jalen Hurts in that game, 15 to 22, 179, a touchdown, no interception, passer rating 108. Saquon ran all over that team. He ran for 255 and 2 touchdowns and also had 4 receptions for 47 yards. He had over 300 yards of scrimmage. Saquon single-handedly cooked the Rams' defense. There's nothing else that needs to be said. A.J. Brown also cooked him too. 6 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. So A.J. Brown did his thing, but Saquon ran all over the Rams defense, including that long 72-yard touchdown. He ran all over that defense. Matthew Stafford, he played a good game. 24-36, 243, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Passer rating of 104. You also had your guys in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua show up. And DeMarcus Robinson had a touchdown. Puka Nacua, 9 for 117. Cooper, 8 for 60 and a touchdown. DeMarcus Robinson had a touchdown reception. They played well. Kyron Williams also ran the ball fairly well. 16 carries, 72 yards. You had the Rams offense that played well, but they had no answers for Saquon. They've had no answers for Saquon. None. Advantage. Offensively, let's start defensively. Advantage defensively goes to the Eagles. From top to bottom, they're one of the best defenses in the National Football League from top to bottom. Now, losing Dean is going to hurt. It's absolutely going to hurt. But even without him, they should still be able to manage their better defense from top to bottom. The Rams defense did show me something in that wild card run against the Vikings, which shows me they can play with aggression, and they can be consistently aggressive in the pass rushing unit without blitzing. They got to Sam Darnold 9 times. So I liked what I saw from the Rams defense, and they're going to need to play that way if they're going to beat Philly, or at least have a chance against Philly to be able to get this done. Defensively, the edge goes to the Eagles. Offensively, offensive line, Philly. Receivers, relatively close because you're comparing Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown to Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. And it's relatively equal. Though if you're going to throw in, a Jahan Dotson, you would have to do Dallas Goedert for the most part. But then you would have to throw Higbee in. And then if you look at Robinson versus Jahan Dotson, it becomes a whole thing. I think it's relatively even between the receiving weapons. So I would say you're about even between the two. Running game, it's not even close. Saquon Barkley's been the best back in the National Football League this year. So your offensive line, running back, wide receiver, All of this is, I mean, wide receiver is equal, but the offensive line and the running game is just favoring Philly heavily. But here's the thing, though. Quarterback. Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford. This is where things become tough for me. I talked about this heading into last week when I was speaking about my wild card weekend predictions. I had people say between the Vikings and Rams, who you got? And I said I'm picking the Rams. I don't trust the Vikings quarterback situation. I said the Vikings, again, defensively they've been better this year. Offensively they got the weapons and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you're asking me in the playoff game to pick between Sam Darnold, who's never played a playoff game and it's never been in the playoff atmosphere, over Matthew Stafford, who's won a championship and went toe-to-toe with Brady in the playoffs and beat him. I'm picking Matthew Stafford. And people thought I was a little bit crazy for saying that because the Vikings defense is explosive and they got, the Vikings defense. The Vikings offense is explosive with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. They got all these weapons, TJ Hawkinson and all this other stuff. Their defense has been stout. They've been making stops. I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all. But Sam Darnold is the quarterback that has to play in that game. And Detroit put out a clear recipe for stopping Sam Darnold. If you consistently put pressure on Darnold, he will fold like a graham cracker. The Rams watch that, and they're going to execute it. And just like that, we sat here on Monday night and showcased that that exact game plan that we said they would do is exactly what they executed. 9 sacks, 2 turnovers, and a dominant win. I picked the Rams specifically because of the quarterback situation. Now, when we compare Jalen Hurts to Matthew Stafford, I would still say Matthew Stafford's probably the better quarterback in this situation. But Jalen Hurts is not Sam Darnold. Now, the passing game for Philly has not been great. And if you saw last week, they were pathetic for 2 quarters. In fact, Jalen Hurts didn't complete a pass for like 2 quarters of that game. They didn't look great. And Green Bay's defense did a fairly good job in stopping the pass. They just struggled with the run, which is Saquon. It is what it is. But the pass game, they did a good job. A.J. Brown only had 1 reception. He was on the sideline reading the book. I didn't like what I saw from the passing game last week. But I was fair and sat back and said, I'm going to give them leniency, and specifically Jalen Hurts leniency. He hasn't played football in 3 weeks. He's going to be rusty. And considering what he did in that game, you can live with what he did because he did play pretty damn good, given the fact that he didn't play for 3 weeks. I would hope he would be better in this game against the Rams. Matthew Stafford also played on a heater in the wild card round. You go look at what he did to that Vikings defense. He dissected that defense. And there's times where Philly's defense has been caught lacking. You could say whatever you want to say about it. Jaden Daniels threw 5 touchdowns against that defense. He threw 5. They've been caught lacking at times. They have. Now, of course, it's not to the point where you would think, okay, it's a concern. But that defense has been caught lacking at times. And they have been able to get, they have not been able, but there's been times where they have gotten beat because they haven't played well at times defensively. I mean, this is the Eagles team that did lose to the Falcons after all. They also got destroyed by Tampa Bay. So this is something that has to be focused on. You gave up 5 touchdowns to Jaden Daniels. You gave up 33 points to Baker Mayfield. You lost to the Falcons. There are times where that defense, for some reason, isn't as consistent as you expect it to be. There's times where that defense does not show up and ends up getting beat. There's times where that secondary can be taken advantage of. And in a game like this, when you've got a Puka Nacua, when you've got a Cooper Kupp, when you've got a Higbee, when you've got a DeMarcus Robinson, that could be exploited. And Kyren Williams can run the ball effectively. And with Matthew Stafford throwing the football to them, there's no way you can convince me that the Rams don't have a really good chance going into Philadelphia and pulling off the upset. And this is the scary part. I keep talking about these things, and it makes me slowly look at the Rams and say, they might be able to win this. But here's the thing. What is their answer for Saquon Barkley? What is their answer for Saquon? I could speak on Jalen Hurts and the passing game struggles all I want. Hopefully it's improved, but that has always been dicey. We've said it. The weakest link on the Philadelphia Eagles is Jalen Hurts. That's not to say Jalen Hurts has been bad. It's just that this Eagles team's so damn good that Jalen Hurts, who at times struggles when he's throwing the football and isn't as consistent as you want him to be passing the ball, at times he looks as the weakest link. If he plays at an elite level, nobody beats the Eagles. They dominate when Jalen Hurts is having a great game because he's the weakest link. If you can't frustrate Jalen Hurts, you got no shot because you can't stop Saquon and the defense is going to lock up. So Jalen Hurts is my concern. The advantage for the Rams is definitely Matthew Stafford in the quarterback situation, but not by much because both guys have played in the Super Bowl before and played well in the playoffs. Sam Darnold has never stepped foot in the postseason, so I knew he was due for a disaster class. But Jalen Hurts has been in these moments, so he knows what to do. However, I would take Stafford as the better quarterback in this situation. It's just, what is the answer for the Rams defense against Saquon Barkley? Do they have an answer? If they can stop Saquon Barkley, the Rams are going to win the game. If the Rams defense can stop Saquon Barkley, they're going to win this game. If they can't, that's a loss. So if they can stop Saquon Barkley, they're going to win this game. If they can stop Saquon Barkley, they can win this game. Because I know no matter how the situation is going to look with Kyren Williams, and he's going to run the ball well, no matter how that situation looks in the run game, Stafford knows how to deliver the ball to Puka Nacua. He knows how to deliver the ball to Cooper Kupp. He knows how to deliver the ball to Marcus Robinson. He knows how to get it to Higbee. I've watched Matthew Stafford dissect defense when he's playing at his best. And him and Sean McVay are a dangerous duo. The Rams have a better head coach and have a better quarterback in this situation. Everything else, for the most part, leans towards Philly. The running game, the offensive line, the defense as a whole, to an extent, the receiving core, which I would say is relatively even. But the advantages, for the most part, lies with the Eagles. But the Rams have the better quarterback and head coach. And I trust Sean McVay in the playoffs way more than I trust Nick Sirianni. I trust Sean McVay's decision-making. I trust his adjustments that he does make. I trust Sean McVay in the postseason. I don't trust Nick Sirianni as a head coach. I never trusted him. Don't think he's the true guy that can get this team over the hump. If they win, it feels like they win in spite of him. I just don't feel Nick Sirianni's the guy. But, hey, to each his own. But, yeah, I'm so confused in this pick. I'm so confused on this pick. I just don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. And that's the aspect that's been eating at me these last few days. Because if you've got the better head coach and the better quarterback in these situations in the playoffs, you've got to take it. And that's my main reason as to why I picked the Rams. But Philly has everything else better. You may have the better quarterback, and you may have the better head coach. But Philly's better in everything else. They got the better defense, the better offensive line, the better running game. What am I supposed to do with that? My only answer to this is Saquon. If the Rams defense shuts down Saquon, which hasn't really happened this year, but if they shut down Saquon, they're going to win this game. If Saquon gets loose early on, pack up, Philly's going to the NFC title game. That's my whole mindset of it. And looking at how Saquon has played this year, I gotta see, man. I gotta see for the most part. I gotta look for any game where you feel like, let me take a look at this, man, because I gotta look for any of these games, man. Taking a look at the games that they lost, nothing here makes you think Saquon can't be Saquon. Like, they lost to the Commanders, but he rushed for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. They lost to Tampa Bay. This was different. 10 carries for 84 yards. I don't know what Tampa Bay has an aggressive aspect. Maybe that's the aspect that needs to be said. Against Atlanta, 22 carries for 95 yards. What the hell did they do to stop him down? Or to at least slow him down? Yeah, you're watching some of these games, and Saquon has been bursting free, but there's games where they've done a good job in slowing down Saquon Barkley. He hasn't always gone off against teams. Pittsburgh, which is really funny how Baltimore manhandled him. Pittsburgh held him to 65 yards. They lost, but they held 19 carries for 65 yards. That's 3.4 yards a carry. Pittsburgh actually Cleveland did the best job against them. 18 carries for 47 yards. So Cleveland and Pittsburgh did the two best jobs of any of any defensive team against Saquon. But then you look at what the Rams did. They played the second worst. The Giants were the worst at 10.4. But they allowed Saquon to average 9.8 yards a carry. Can I trust this defense to really stop Saquon? Can I trust this defense to stop Saquon? I know they were physical. They were aggressive, and they got to Sam Darnold. But can I trust that front seven to stop Saquon? Right now, I don't feel comfortable with that. And that's why, despite me wanting to pick the Rams because they have the better quarterback and head coach, and because I have some questions at times about that Philly defense, I'm going to lean towards Philly here because of Saquon. I'm going to lean towards Philly because of Saquon, but I will tell you this, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if the Rams pull off the upset. In fact, I'm leaning more towards the Rams pulling off the upset, sounding more logical than Philly winning this game if Jalen Hurts does not show up. But I'm going to take the Eagles. Again, they just have the better overall team, and Saquon cooked that defense the first time. Unless they've got any actual game plans to stop him this time around, I just don't know what you do in this situation. So I'm going to take the Eagles in this one. They're going to edge it out. Man. Oh, I gave a prediction for the Chiefs and Texans. I said they'd win 24-17 or 24-14. I'm going to say the Commanders win 38-35. 38-35 or 44-41. It's going to be a high-scoring game because that's the only way I can rationalize them. That defense isn't stopping a nosebleed. It's going to be a shootout. In this game, 35-25. 35-24, 35-25 or 35-24. I'm going to pick the thing is, if Saquon, even if Saquon's going off, I can't even go that high. I'm out to drop it. I'm out to drop it. 25-17, 25-17, 25-17, 25-17. 25-17 to 25-20. I'm just trying to think here. I just don't think they're going to put up that many points. Even the first time when they met up with them, Jalen Hurts is a concern to me. Even when they met up with them the first time, they put up numbers on that team. But are the Rams defense going to allow that to happen again? That's my big thing. Are they going to allow that to happen? They dropped 37 points on them the first time. I'm really sitting here thinking 35-24 or 35-25, but I watched the Rams torture Sam Darnold. I watched them really lean in on trying to, you know what? Let me see here. I wanna go back to the Rams here, and I want to see what they did last week against Aaron Jones, and that could give me a bit of an idea. Let's see here. What did they do against? The hell is this? What did they do against Aaron Jones? Aaron Jones, 13 carries, 48 yards, 3.7 yards a carry. You see, I could have made a statement, but then you look at Cam Akers, 5 for 39. That's 7.8 yards a carry. So, I don't know. I don't see them stopping Saquon. I'm feeling if it's a high-score game, 35-24. If it's a low-scoring game, 25-17 or 25-20. Either way, I'm taking Philly to win this game, man. Hi, that's a toughie. That's a real toughie. Last but not least, the most anticipated matchup. We expect this to be great. We expect this to actually be the best game of the divisional round. It's been damn near close, man. It's been 50-50 for most of this. It has experts pretty much stuck. This is a coin flip. Sunday night, 6:30, Orchard Park. Baltimore takes on Buffalo with a trip to the AFC Championship game on the line. Now, if you're a Ravens fan or a Bills fan, you know what's going on Twitter right now. It has been awful. Oh my God! No, it's for this whole season has just been garbage because Ravens and Bills fans have just been going at each other's throats. So this matchup had to happen. And now that we're at the week of this matchup happening, it's been nothing short of trash talk and all this other stuff. Both sides looking to try to create some sort of bulletin board material, which good luck with that. Just a bunch of bulletin board material for some random nonsense or just any sort of random trash talk they can get. You got the Bills keep spamming, oh yeah, we didn't have these players in. These papers, these our three key players in the defense weren't in. That's why we couldn't stop Derrick Henry. And then Baltimore keeps spamming, we beat y'all by 25. We beat y'all by 25. Yeah, but it's a different team. Yeah, but our defense is this. It's just been a whole thing. I dropped a 40+ minute video earlier today basically breaking down that entire matchup and speaking on every aspect of how this game is going to go. So I don't have anything more to share with you guys here. If you want to know the full aspect of what this game entails and how this game can go, be sure to check the video out on the channel. But I don't have, I don't have, I don't have anything else to really say here. What I would say here is advantage offensively. Both teams are dead even. Their stats from top to bottom is dead even. Baltimore just has the advantage with total yards, but the stats are dead even. They even have the same plus differential at 127. I mean, they're dead even offensively. But the offensive edge goes slightly to the Ravens because of the Derrick Henry effect. Defensively, the advantage slightly, again, goes to the Ravens defense because, again, they've been the best run defense in the National Football League all year. And since Week 11, they've been the best defense in football. But at the same time, I don't think it's that much of a difference because, again, since the Bills have gotten their guys healthy, especially around Week 13, when they got their healthy guys back, they've been one of the best run and pass defenses in the National Football League. Baltimore's been better overall in that aspect, but Buffalo's not too far behind. So I think you've just got an even matchup, left, right, up, and down, and that's what makes it tough. But overall in this game, I spent 40 minutes speaking on this. Obviously, I'm taking the Ravens because I've had two questions. I've had two questions for anyone that's picked the Bills, and I want to see what answers they can give me. And I've been talking about it all week. One, how is that defense going to stop Derrick Henry for 60 minutes? It's going to be cold. In fact, this is going to be the coldest game Lamar Jackson's ever played in. And apparently, Bills fans have been spamming that and saying that's going to be an advantage for us because Lamar's going to fumble. Apparently, the weather is going to be the reason the Ravens lose, not the Bills. Whatever. Advantage, however you want to say it. If it was snowing, it's a different conversation. But there's not going to be snow on the field. It's just going to be cold. But whatever. It's just been back and forth talk. My questions have been, one, how are you going to stop Derrick Henry for 60 minutes? Because I explained this in my video. Baltimore is doing something they didn't do in Week 4. See, in Week 4, they were using some of their blockers. They were definitely using some of their blockers. Obviously, your usual, somewhat of a heavy person. They were using a lot of 22 and 21 personnel. So it was somewhat heavy using your two tight ends and using your two tight ends and using your two tight ends and Patrick Ricard. So using your two tight ends and Patrick Ricard. That was their aspect there. And they thrashed them by just using a lot of 22 and 21 personnel. They thrashed them in the running game. Baltimore has tweaked that. And if you have been paying attention, Baltimore has been running an even heavier personnel. Our guy Jones, our offensive lineman Jones, they've now added him on the field. So now Baltimore, which they didn't do in Week 4, they're doing this now. Baltimore is now running 6 offensive linemen out there. They're running 6 offensive linemen, 2 tight ends, and their fullback and Patrick Ricard. So I want to repeat this. They've got 6 offensive linemen, all 250 plus pounds, 2 tight ends that are both around 250, and a 300-pound fullback. They're running that just to give any sort of opportunity for Derrick Henry to take off. So that means you've got 6 offensive linemen blocking, 2 tight ends blocking, and a fullback to come in as an extra blocker. They're blocking 9 guys. Pittsburgh has been the best this season. Well, actually, they've been the second best. Kansas City has been the best, just based off the carries. But Pittsburgh was the second best defensive team all season that has played well. The second best defensive team all season that actually found a way to contain and slow down Derrick Henry. What they did in Pittsburgh during the first matchup, everyone said they can handle Derrick Henry. Why? Because they've got a physical defense and they've got the bodies to do it. Because they've got a lot of heavy set guys over there, a lot of big guys. They have the size to match up with Derrick Henry. So they were able to make a stop in Pittsburgh. But then Baltimore tweaked it, started playing a little bit more heavy personnel, and all of a sudden you started to see they started doing 2 things a lot more. 1, heavy personnel. 2, the zone read option with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So that heavy personnel, they ran that in the playoff game last week, but they ran the zone read option during that second matchup at Baltimore, and they found that Pittsburgh didn't have an answer for it. So then they started changing up and said, you know what? Let's run the zone read option, but now let's add an extra offensive lineman. So now you got 6 O-linemen blocking, 2 tight ends blocking, and a 300-pound fullback in Patrick Ricard blocking for Derrick Henry. Pittsburgh had no answers for that. And when Lamar utilized his own read, he was just reading and reacting to the defense. When they tried to load the box to focus in on Derrick Henry, he pulled that ball off and went off the edge. When guys put emphasis on him on the edge, he just kept it to Derrick Henry and he ran up the gut. Pittsburgh was the second best team at playing the run game against Baltimore and Derrick Henry. They got thrashed in back-to-back games and had no answers for this aspect. Buffalo, despite the improvement in the run defense, they're not as great as a run defense as Pittsburgh. What makes matters even tougher for them is they don't have the bodies, the physical size. They don't have a lot of big bodies there. They're light in the box. They are very light in the box. They don't have the physical size to deal with Derrick Henry for 60 minutes. That doesn't mean they can't try, and that doesn't mean they can't make adjustments. But just normally with how their defense is, they don't have the physical weight and size like Pittsburgh and Kansas City does. Kansas City has the bodies. Pittsburgh has the bodies. That's why they can play well against Derrick Henry. But even with that, Pittsburgh got thrashed. So Buffalo, who again has not been great stopping the run, and I'm going to point this out again too, which I did in my video, despite them wrecking the Denver Broncos, what did they do against the run? I will say this right now. Against the run with the Denver Broncos, who, by the way, had a horrible game plan. I don't know what Sean Payton was doing. Sean McDermott was watching Sean Payton do a bunch of nonsense. But I will point this again out. Despite them beating them 31-7, when you take a look at the run game and the few carries that were there, Bo Nix took off 4 times for 43 yards. That's 10.8 yards. All their guys are out there, 100% healthy. The guys that they needed to get back, they're out there. 4 carries, 43 yards. That's 10.8 yards average. Javonte Williams ran the ball 7 times for 7 times for 29 yards. That is 4.1 yards a carry. Not a lot, but they were getting some success when running the football. Now, good news is the game plan they ran for Bo Nix, they're not running that for Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. They know that. But they're not the exact best team. They are a top 15, close to the top 10 at run defense. But they're not the best run defense in football. The team that actually has the best run defense in football is Baltimore. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's just the number one answer for anyone that's picking the Bills. Explain to me how they're going to stop Derrick Henry, especially if Baltimore decides to add 6 offensive linemen out there with their 2 tight ends and a 300-pound fullback to block for Derrick Henry. And they could potentially look to do that for 60 minutes if they wanted to. So how are they going to stop Derrick Henry? And then next, explain to me how they're going to stop the zone read between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry when Lamar actively reads the defense. If you overcommit to Derrick Henry, he takes off, he keeps it and takes off the edge. If you overcommit to him, he'll hand it off to Derrick Henry and let him go up the gut, which is exactly what happened against the Pittsburgh Steelers. When they overcommitted to Derrick Henry, Lamar took off and picked up the first down with his legs, just picking up 8 yards, 7 yards, 7 yards, 10 yards. They get it like a 15-yard run. When they overcommitted to Lamar, Derrick Henry takes off, which is exactly what happened on that 44-yard touchdown when he went right up the gut and just ran past everyone else. So again, what are the Bills' defense going to do against Derrick Henry? And then what are they going to do against that zone read between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? That has been my main question for anyone that's picking the Bills. Like, if you're not a Bills fan, you obviously are going to pick your team and stand by it. But for anyone that's just picking the Bills, what answers do the Bills have? Knowing they don't have the physical size like Pittsburgh or Kansas City, what answers do they have to stop Derrick Henry and then stop the zone read with Henry and Lamar? That is where my overall aspect is. I already said in my video with that, they're going to have to load the box up and hope for the best. They have to load the box up and hope that their corners and their corners, linebackers, and safeties can win their one-on-one matchups, which it's going to be tough, but it's their best chance. Unfortunately for them, they're going up against Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and Rashad Bateman. That are all some of the best at their position at creating separation in man coverage one-on-one. Not to mention, they play man coverage against Lamar Jackson. That's just asking to get beat. There's a lot of things Buffalo's going to have to do. There's a lot of things they're going to have to do, but it's just not going to be easy. It's just not going to be easy, man. It's just a lot. It's going to come down to execution on the field, because even with the game plan, there's so much frustrating things that can happen. But it's going to be tough. I'm very interested in watching this game and seeing how the Bills defense is going to play this. It would probably have to be the best coaching job by Sean McDermott and the defensive coordinator to figure out how they're going to have to do this. It's going to be a lot of assignment football there. And even if they do load the box up and force Lamar to throw the ball, he's been one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback at throwing the football this year. And when it comes to one-on-one matchups, Likely Andrews against their linebackers is not a favorable matchup for the Bills. It at least evens the odds, but it's not a favorable matchup. And Bateman has the best separation rate of any wide receiver in the National Football League this year. It's just a good thing Zay Flowers is not playing. He's most likely not going to play. That just makes it even overkill. But again, it's just a lot. So I guess at this point, you just got to hope the cold affects Lamar Jackson's throwing ability and he misses his targets. I just don't know. You at this point, you got to load the box up and hope your secondary can hold up against those receivers. That's what I said their best chance defensively is. Load the box up and hope you don't get thrashed too much in the pass game, which, again, Lamar has killed teams with his arm. That's just the best aspect that you can bring to the table. And then on the opposite side, Baltimore has the best run defense in the National Football League. And when they met up with Cooks in Week 4, they were able to contain them. So we'll see if Cooks can get the best of this defense this time around. It's basically James Cooks versus Roquan Smith for 60 minutes. And Roquan Smith's been the best linebacker at tackling and stopping the run. So that's why he won All-Pro, because he's the best run-stopping linebacker in the National Football League. He won All-Pro because of that, because running backs don't get past him. And that D-line has been the best in the National Football League at stopping the run. And another aspect that has to be mentioned is in that game against the Bills in Week 4, our best run stuffer on the defensive line, and Michael Pierce, did not play. So, and we also had Broderick Washington, who also did not play. So there's just so much that goes into the game. That's why I had to make a 40-minute video of it. Again, offensively, I think for the Bills, you have to establish the run no matter what with Cook. If Cooks can get the run going, you have a shot. Because if it becomes one-dimensional and it's all on Josh Allen, they're cooked. Not because Josh Allen can't make plays, but now you're leaving him by himself and he's having no help. And now the defense got him right where they want him because they can just play it off. You need the job of the Bills is to make sure they make Josh Allen's job as easy as possible. The offense has to make Josh Allen's job as easy as possible. If it becomes a situation where they can't run the ball with Cooks and the defense makes Josh Allen one-dimensional, they've got him. And if you looked at his numbers against any Ravens defense, Josh Allen's never had spectacular numbers against them. The best he had, interesting enough, the best game he had against them was the divisional round in 2021. Not 2021, in 2020. And in that game, he threw a touchdown. He completed 62% of his passes. I think he had a passer rating of like 94 or something like that. So, yeah, it's kind of a thing there. I still think there are paths in which Josh Allen and the Bills could win, which I went over in my 40-minute video. But, yeah, it's a lot to ask. And even the best of the best analysts are trying to figure out how you stop this running game. Like, people are looking at this and saying, this is actually unfair football. Because as much as you want to sit back and talk about players and GOATs, dude, they're playing bully ball football. There's 11 players out there. I want to repeat this. There are 11 players out there. There's 11 players on the offense. There's 11 players on the defense. Baltimore is putting 6 offensive linemen on the field. So that's 6 guys they're blocking. They've got 2 tight ends. 2 big tight ends. In fact, they have 3 big tight ends. So they can go out there with Andrews and Likely, or Andrews and Kolar, or Likely and Kolar. All 3 of their tight ends can block. So they got 6 offensive linemen blocking, plus 2 big tight ends blocking. And then you've got this 300-pound fullback in Patrick Ricard that's also blocking. They're blocking 9 people. That leaves about 2 people to try to stop Derrick Henry. And when you're dealing with a defense like Buffalo that doesn't have the physical weight and strength like a Kansas City, that makes the job even harder. And then they got to do it in the cold for 60 minutes. That makes it even harder. I already said in my video, if the Bills win, I want nothing short of respect and credit to go to them. Because to pull off what they would have to pull off in this game. All week, analysts have been trying to figure out how the Bills are going to stop the run game. Because the way they play defense, they like to play a lot of nickel. They can't play that way. You can't have 5 DBs out there. They'll get cooked. The last time they had 5 DBs out there was Week 4. They don't have that now. They got their big linebackers. So they got to play with more linebackers. But the problem is if they overcommit too much to try to stop the run, you're going to have Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely or Rashad Bateman one-on-one potentially wide open. And they can get gashed that way. Defense, analysts have been trying all week to try to figure out how specifically the Bills are going to try to stop Derrick Henry. It's a toughie. It will be a tall task, but if they pull it off, they deserve nothing short of credit. And I'll make a prediction that if they could pull it off, they're going to go to the Super Bowl. But I don't see how they're going to do that for 60 minutes if Baltimore commits to this. Now, Baltimore has to commit to this. We've said this for a long time. Baltimore's worst enemies themselves. If they choose to go away from this and say, you know what? MVP conversation. We want to prove Lamar's the real MVP. We're going to throw it. We're not even going to try to run with him. We're going to throw it 35, 40 times. You want to turn it into a shootout in Buffalo? Good luck on that one. But if they commit, they fully commit to running the ball with Derrick Henry 25 plus times, I don't know what you do. Against Pittsburgh, they ran the ball. They ran the ball 50 times against Pittsburgh for 300 yards. They averaged 6 yards per rushing attempt. What do you do with that? I don't know. But yeah, I have the Ravens winning this game 24-20. I explained my exact reason and logic as to why I think this is going to be a close game. I know I just basically spent 10 minutes here on the live stream explaining how it's going to be damn near impossible or incredibly difficult for them to stop Derrick Henry. But I still think there are things the Bills can do defensively to slow that down. And I still think they're going to do things offensively that will benefit them. I'm not going to speak about it here. I spoke about it in the prediction video. So go check it out if you want to know about what the Bills can do to win this game or what they have to take advantage of offensively. But yeah, I still think it's going to be a close game. I got the Ravens winning 24-20. I don't see how this is going to be a blowout. I know everyone's trying to be like, oh, they blew them out the first time. I don't see that happening. I don't see how the Bills' defense is going to... If they get blown out, bro, I don't know what to tell you, man. if the Ravens go into Orchard Park and blow out the Bills and beat them twice... This year, they blow them out twice this year. I don't know what to tell you, man. They blow them out twice this year. I'll be completely shocked. I don't see a blowout here. I see a tightly contested game. Baltimore wins 24-20. And that's pretty much all of my predictions here for the most part. I'm going to end it here. Yeah, I got the Chiefs winning, what did I say? I said 24-17. Yeah, Chiefs winning 24-17. I got the Commanders pulling off the upset, either 38-35 or 44-41. I got the Eagles winning this 25-17 or 25-20. And I have the Ravens winning it 24-20. I'm going to take a look at some of your comments, and then I'm going to head on out of here. What's going on, Daniel? What's going on, John? Hey, what's up, man? Just watched your video on the Bills versus Ravens game analysis. It was great. Appreciate that. What's going on, KT? Will it be rust or rest for the Chiefs come Texas game? They haven't played in 2 weeks. They're going to have to slowly wake themselves up, but I expect the Chiefs to be fine. Starters last played on December 25th. Their next game is Saturday on January 18th. Chiefs will either look rusty or rest pace. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. They had a lot of injuries that were kind of fostering, so that rest was needed for them. What's going on, Sam? First time since 2021 where I think all the division round games should be very good. We'll see. Chiefs probably win, but I would love KC to be shocked possibly by someone. I hope the Chiefs win. I think the win of the Bills and Ravens game deserves an opportunity to get redemption against the team that beat them in the AFC title game. After Tank Dell's injury went downhill. Absolutely. If they had Dell and Diggs, they would have had a solid chance. I would probably give them a much better chance if they had that. Meanwhile, Hollywood Brown came back, and they got everybody else with Rashid Rice. That is true. Chris Jones' D-line is going to be a bother to that O-line all day. That is also true. And Casey's offense has the advantage. Pacheco and Kareem Hunt together could do something more than Mixon and Pierce. That is also true. The defense could give Mahomes some trouble. I believe in that. Washington's going to win in Detroit. We'll see what happens, Zach. What's going on, the boss? I think the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I think if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, Kelsey's gonna call it quits. We'll see. I think he probably has more in him, but who knows? If he wants to finish at 4, he can finish at 4. I don't know. NFL won't allow the Chiefs to lose. Too much money involved. Yeah, we'll see how that works. Commanders pulling off the upset alert. We'll see. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. We got the Chiefs magic, though. Please, can we win? I don't know. You can't beg someone, can we win? That's not how that works. You got to go earn it. If the Chiefs were horrible, Swift wouldn't be with Kelsey, I really believe. I'm not getting on someone else's. I'm not getting on anybody's relationship situation. I could care less about that. Lions win the game. That's the expectation. Let's see if the Commanders can go pull off a miracle. Ravens coming out of the AFC. They got a shot, but we have to see, man. They have to handle Buffalo on Sunday, and if they can't do it, they go home as losers. At the end of the day, if you're about your business, you handle your business. We're gonna see if Baltimore's about their business Sunday. If they're not, they're gonna go home as losers, and that's just the end of it. They're getting healthier though. That is true. That is true. The Lions are getting healthier. Punt's about to be playing spades on the sidelines, most likely. Yeah, the Commanders got to be perfect offensively and got to make a few plays defensively. Room for Detroit to win a Super Bowl, but it would be cool to see Washington have a run I haven't seen in my life. I haven't seen Washington win a playoff game since I was 5, so last year was very special to me. Philly beating the Rams. Saquon will leads 100 plus, perhaps 200 plus. He had 255 yards and 300 total yards of scrimmage, so he could do it again. Jalen can run the ball. Jalen can run a lot better than Stafford, but the receivers I think have the edge with LA over Philly. It's a toughie. It's a very toughie. Saquon Barkley versus Kyron Williams. We'll see how that matchup goes in the aspect of which running back can impose their will in the game better, which would lean more towards Saquon because of that offensive line. I got Philly because I think they can rely on Saquon if the pass isn't working or vice versa. I saw the Heat game yesterday. It is what it is, man. By the way, I did give credit. Tyler Hero's been having an all-star type season, so shout out to Tyler Hero for playing well, no matter how unfortunate this situation is. Saquon dropped the pass against Atlanta. He should have. Yeah, that's true. He did drop that pass that cost him the game. I wouldn't mind the Bills or Ravens. Either Ravens 24-21 or Bills 20-17. It's going to be a close game no matter how you look at it. Bills defense might struggle against Henry, but could with Lamar passing. Again, I know the aspect of just assuming Lamar passing the ball is just the way to beat them. Best of luck with that. The 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and the passer rating of 120 means he's done well enough. Not to mention Baltimore's won shootouts. In fact, they are the only team with a winning record when they've been down double digits. They were down twice against the Bengals. They won those games. And they were down once against the Chargers by 10 plus points and the other against the Bucks by 10 plus points. They won both those games. So, again, it's not like they can't win in the shootout with Lamar Jackson. Like this year, Lamar, yeah, they'll be fine even if they have to pass. But taking away Henry and making Lamar pass doesn't guarantee a win for the Bills, but at least evens the odds. Because if you can slow down Derrick Henry, you make it a game. If the Ravens do win this, I just hope Henry can run all over the Chiefs' defense as best we can. Listen, if the Ravens win this one, next week's topic and preview with the Kansas City Chiefs, that's going to be a whole nother breakdown. Because Kansas City ain't Buffalo, okay? You may be able to run over Pittsburgh, and we'll see. They may be able to run over Buffalo. You can't do that against Kansas City. So it becomes an entirely different aspect. That's when Zay Flowers is needed. That is when Zay Flowers is required to be in that game. If the Bills win it, it would have to be James Captain Hook Cook. I mean, it would come down to James Cook opening up the offense, which I spoke of in my previous video. I'm not going to speak on it here. Sean McDermott's defense with Bobby Babich, they'll have to force Lamar to throw and not give it to Henry. Good luck trying to do that. And you would have to do that and hope that the Andrews, Likely, and Bateman don't win their matchups consistently. Let's be real. Game starts at Saturday, 7. Saturday, no one cares about that 3:30 game because everyone knows the results. It's like a bye week to the Chiefs. Yeah, everybody's got a bye week for the most part. The problem is Ravens tend to get lazy in second half. It's been an issue for years now. Game will be close because of that. At the end of the day, it comes down to this. If Baltimore has a lead, I'm going to have a concern. We had the double-digit lead in the second half, I'm going to have a concern they're going to be conservative. They did that against Pittsburgh. If it's a close game through and through, they're going to be playing their best football. So we'll see how that goes. If the Bills want to win, they're going to have to put up 35-plus points. Against Baltimore's defense? Josh Allen, the most points... Again, I don't think y'all have actually taken a look at how Josh Allen has played against the Ravens defense. I'm going to read Josh Allen's stats versus the Ravens defense. And I'm going to include that playoff game that they won. Because that was actually his best performance against the Ravens defense. I'm going to read this. Now, I'm going to take off the first one. Because the first one that I'm thinking of here that's on this list is from 2018, his rookie year. Which no one's holding that against him. They were getting blown out. Joe Flacco already cooked that team. Nathan Peterman threw like 3 interceptions. And that was game. So we're not going to count that. I'm going to read you Josh Allen's stats against the Ravens defense throughout its history. So that includes 2019 all the way to now in the matchups because they are 2-2 in those matchups. I'm going to read you Josh Allen's stats word for word. 2019, December 8th, 2019, Josh Allen was 17-39 for 146 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception, passer rating of 62. And so that was 43% completion there. Josh Allen 2022. This is when they pulled off the comeback. They were down 20-3. They won 23-3. Baltimore just choked offensively. But in that game, Josh Allen 19-36, 213, a touchdown, an interception, passer rating of 68.4. That's 52% completion percentage. Josh Allen in the playoff game, where they won 17-3. 23 of 37, which is 62% completion, 206 pass yards, a touchdown, no interception, passer rating of 86. That is his best game against the Ravens defense. And then last but not least, this past season here, September 29, 2024, 16 to 29, 180 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He did fumble the ball and had a completion percentage of 55. The most points Josh Allen has put up on a Ravens defense has been 23. I don't know what it is, but Josh Allen has not exactly played his best game, he hasn't exactly torched our Ravens defense before. I've watched Mahomes torch our defense. I just watched Joe Burrow torch our defense. I've seen Baker at times torch our defense. I've never seen Josh Allen torch this defense. Now, again, some of these are circumstantial because some of the defenses in the previous years, they were just bad because of the injuries. Like 2021, he didn't face off against us. Our defense was, half of it was on IR. So if he would have faced off against us in 2021, he would have blown them out. But there were just times, again, Josh Allen has not exactly put up stellar numbers against the Ravens defense. The most points he scored is 23. So to assume they're going to put up 35 points against the Ravens defense, who, by the way, has been the number one defense since week 14. They're averaging giving up 14 points a game since week 11. Not since week 13, excuse me. Since week 11, they've been the number one defense since week 11. And I'm going to speak about this again in terms of the teams they did have to face in that stretch. So we'll be fair for it. Judge it however you will. The Ravens defense, since week 11, after losing to the Eagles, after losing to after beating the Bengals, since week 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18. So week 11, that game against the Steelers, they gave up 18 points to the Steelers. They've given up 23 to the Chargers, 24 to the Eagles, 14 to the Giants, 17 to the Steelers, 0 points defensively to the Texans, and 10 points to the Browns. So at the end of the day, you could take away the Browns, you could take away the Giants. Those are bad teams. The Steelers are a playoff team. They gave up 18 and 17. The Chargers are a playoff team. They gave up 23. The Eagles, obviously, are a playoff team. They gave up 24. The Texans are a playoff team. They gave up 0 points defensively. So, again, this Ravens defense has been the number one defense since week 11. So the idea that the Bills are going to put up 35-plus points against this Ravens defense, you're going to have to explain to me where that logic is coming from. And I don't think they need to score 35-plus points to beat the Ravens offense. Not to beat the Ravens offense, to beat the Ravens defense. I don't think the Bills need to score 35-plus points to win this game. That's insane. They're not getting 35-plus points against the Ravens defense. But they don't need to score 35-plus points to win this game. At least I don't think they need to. So saying they're going to have to put up 35-plus points is a tall task, especially because Josh Allen hasn't exactly had the best track record against the Ravens defense, and the most he's put up on the Ravens defense is 23 points. So to get 35 in that aspect, when the Ravens defense throughout its career has played him consistently well, including this year, that's kind of a different case there. So I don't know about that. But I do think they could still win. There are things they would have to do, but there's a possibility they can win. There's several possibilities that they can win this game, but they're not going to put up 35-plus points. But I don't think they need to. I think this is going to be more of a lower-scoring game than people are expecting it to be. That's a different Bills team compared to the Bills team y'all played in Week 4. Absolutely, John. But guess what? The Ravens are a different team compared to the team they are in Week 4. Everyone talks about the Bills missing players, but no one speaks on the fact that the Ravens were missing players. They were missing their best defensive run stopper in Michael Pierce. They were missing Broderick Washington. Not to mention, I'll tell you this. One, their personnel is completely different. Trent Simpson was out there early on in that game. He's not even playing at times. They've pretty much benched this man for the most part. So he's not even part of the defense they run out there nowadays. So that's number one. Number two, they were running 3 safeties. They had Kyle Hamilton roam around the box. He was one that was really coming to send the blitz. He was delivering hits. They had him everywhere. They don't have him that anymore. Because they ran 3 safeties. They had Marcus Williams and Eddie Jackson out there running 3 safeties when they matched up against them in Week 4. Marcus Williams is permanently benched, and Eddie Jackson not even on the team. They moved Kyle Hamilton back to free safety, and they've played Ardarius Washington at strong safety. Ardarius Washington didn't even really play in that game against Buffalo. So they got a new look personnel aspect-wise on the defense. And ever since they made that change from 3 safeties to 2 high safeties and made those personnel changes on the defense, they've been the number 1 defense in the National Football League. So while you are correct that it's not the same Bills team they played in Week 4, this is not the same Ravens team they played in Week 4 as well. There have been significant changes defensively, and offensively, they've even added this new tactic of adding 6 offensive linemen, something they didn't even do in the Bills game. So both teams are vastly different than what they were in Week 4. So if you're going to make that argument for the Bills, you got to make the same argument for the Ravens. That's why I think it's going to be a close, tough, competitive game that comes down to the wire. These two teams are not even remotely close to what they were in Week 4. Did we forget that Baltimore had the worst pass defense in the National Football League heading into that game? That's why everybody said Buffalo was going to blow them out. Everybody said Josh Allen was going to put a clinic on heading into that game because Baltimore was the worst pass defense in the National Football League. And despite them being the worst pass defense in the National Football League, they gave up 10 points. Both teams are several times better than they were in Week 4. And both teams have made significant changes. That's why it's going to be a different game. And that's why that game in Week 4 has no relevance on the game we will see on Sunday. Who I want? Texans, Lions, Eagles, and Bills. I'm going to be honest. I want the Chiefs to win. Whoever gets the AFC title game to take on Kansas City will have a chance of redemption. I don't want the Texans to win. I want the Chiefs to win because this is supposed to be a year redemption. Either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson can get their redemption. So I want the Chiefs to win. I want the Commanders to win. I picked the Eagles to win, so it is what it is. And I certainly want the Ravens to win as a Ravens fan. Commanders pulling off the upset in Detroit. Oh, yeah. I said straight up. That my Commanders pick was nothing but heart. We are going to believe in Jaden Daniels. We already know the Lions are the better team. But we're going with the Commanders because we're on the believe train. JD has the DMV believing, and we're going to rock with him to the end. That's just how it is. What will happen probably is Chiefs, Lions, Eagles, Ravens. If that ends up happening, it is what it is at the end of the day. Which, of course, I want the Ravens, the Chiefs in the AFC title game. Lions, Eagles, I don't want that. I want Philly and Washington. I want the Commanders to get one more shot at Philadelphia with a chance to go Super Bowl. Not to mention, if the Commanders get to the NFC Championship game, everybody in the NFC can just laugh at the Cowboys and say, dang, the Commanders got to the NFC champ. That means everybody in the NFC East but Dallas would have gotten to an NFC title game in this millennium. That would be beautiful to see. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. I got the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. It's going to be a tall task, but Philly definitely has a team to get it done. The day Juice WRLD passed was the first time Allen versus Lamar played in 2019. I did not realize that was the case. I believe this is the year the Lions better win the Super Bowl because Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn ain't coming back next season, so they better win it before they leave. Yeah, it's one of those seasons where they have to get it done. I'm Rams fan. I've seen Bills and Rams put up 40+. Absolutely. Again, show me a situation where you're going to watch against this Ravens defense where you're going to see that happen. That's cool that you have seen it. The Rams defense and the Ravens defense are two entirely different defenses, my friend. And especially because of the changes that made. Now, I'll say this, Deuce. If we're talking about the Ravens defense that was ranked dead last in passing yards, the worst pass defense in the National Football League, that defense, if we're talking about that defense, dude, absolutely. Even though the Bills didn't put up 35+ points, they only put up 10 in that matchup. I can absolutely see that defense giving up. Because, again, we'll talk about it. Look at the defense. They gave up 27 to the Chiefs, 26 to the Raiders, 25 to the Cowboys, even though they were up 28-3. They gave up 38 to the Bengals, 23 to the Commanders, not that bad, but 31 to the Bucks. They gave up 29 to the Browns. They gave up 34 against the Bengals. And then after that game against Cincinnati, that's when they made the personnel change. So since Week 11, when they've made the personnel change, several players left the defensive personnel. Other players came in. Since they made that defensive change in personnel and changed their overall defensive scheme, they've been the number 1 defense in the National Football League. So I don't see how you're going to put up 35+ points against that defense. If you do it, all the power to you. I would love to say tip my cap off to you, which I don't have my other cap here. I mean, just like, if you could score 35+ points on this defense that's been the number 1 defense, averaging giving up 41 points, and this is while they were going up against several playoff teams. They give up 35 points. This defense, hey, man, tip your cap off to that team and wish them the best of luck in the next round. I just don't see how that's going to happen. I don't even see it being a high-scoring game. To be fair, defense in that game is still great. I'm not even going to lie. The Ravens' defense in that game, God, The Ravens' defense in that game was not as great as people are trying to say it was. Even like Roquan Smith admitted, there was a lot of things we were doing wrong in that. That defense wasn't great in that game. The thing about it was they took advantages of some of the things the Bills ran. See, the Bills' offense had not figured out their identity yet. Even though they were winning games, they had not figured out their identity yet. They didn't know what they wanted to be. And because of that, they were kind of a mess early on offensively. They were winning games because they had weak guys. The first 3 games, they were going up against weak competition, and everybody called it out. The offense the Bills had there didn't have a real identity, and the Ravens exploited it, even though they weren't playing well. Like, if you go back and look at that Trent Simpson, he was so poor in tackle. He was just missing tackles against everybody. That's why he's not playing right now. Marcus Williams and Eddie Jackson were so poor in coverage that, honestly, if these receivers were winning their matches more consistently early on, they would have really put damage on them. Not to mention, all the momentum in that game changed when they went for the dumbass, excuse me for my language, for that stupid trick play that ultimately changed the game and pretty much sealed it for the Ravens to win. If they don't run that trick play, I don't know if that game is going to turn into a blowout. So yeah, the defense for the Ravens didn't play spectacular in that game. It felt more like they did well, but they weren't spectacular. They did well, but they weren't spectacular. The Bills' offense just didn't have their identity yet. They didn't realize how much they need Cooks in the run game. They didn't realize they were still trying to figure this out because this was Josh Allen with these new weapons, figuring out the role of Coleman, figuring out the role of Shakir, figuring out the role of all these other guys. So their offense was it was just relying on the talent of Josh Allen. And once you zone into Josh Allen, it's kind of over if you don't help him. And that's kind of what they did. They just zoned in on Josh Allen and just hoped for the best. And Josh Allen still made plays, but the play calling wasn't the best on either side, and the coverage wasn't the best on either side. It was just not a good game on film for the Ravens. But at the end of the day, it looked like they dominated the Bills just because the Bills' offensive film was even worse than the Ravens' defensive film. So neither one of those teams are proud of how that game looked on film. But the Ravens will take the dominant victory. It's just that's film that you've got to just look at. It's brutal. You burn it if you're the Bills. If you're the Ravens, you look at that and say, thank God we fixed this, and this. Because there was 15 different things that were wrong with that defense. So, yeah, the defense you're going to see and the offense you're going to see is much different because the Bills' offense is much more defined. They understand the role and the importance of a James Cook, and everybody has their role on the offense. Not to mention the addition of Amari Cooper significantly improves their offense. And then the Ravens' defense making that change personnel-wise to go from 3 safeties with Eddie Jackson, Marcus Williams, and Kyle Hamilton roaming in the box to now just having Kyle Hamilton and Ardarius Washington, who didn't even really play in that game, as your 2 safeties back there. You bench some of your guys, and you change up the aspect of how you're playing defense. They completely switched up their overall scheme while still playing relatively zone. Because of those changes, defensively, they're a much better team. So it's going to be a brand new game between the two of them. Now look at the Patriots box score from when they played the Bills in December 2021. Yeah, the Bills scored every single time. It was a perfect game from them. Eagles lost both their offensive coordinator and defense coordinator after the Super Bowl, and it's shocking that they were able to rebuild afterwards. But they were still a mess of a football team. That's why they got upset in the first round by Tampa Bay. They were a mess. They were winning games they were winning games they had no reason to win. Everybody knew that Eagles team was fraudulent. That's why they lost badly in the first round. They fixed it this year. It took them a year to get it back together, but losing those guys is gonna hurt. Now I don't know where Aaron Glenn's gonna land, but I am damn near convinced Ben Johnson is going to Chicago. It just seems like Caleb actively wants Ben Johnson. Now, I don't see how Chicago does not pursue this guy. If he's looking for a head coaching job, Chicago's going to give him whatever he wants. And I just think that's where Ben Johnson's going to go. I don't know where Aaron Glenn's going to land at, but I'm for sure thinking Ben Johnson's going to be in Chicago. With that being said, this is going to be a mini Super Bowl. It's supposed to be the best matchup of the division round. It might be the game of the year. We'll see what happens. Yeah, they played the Cardinals, the Dolphins, and the Jaguars before the Ravens, so everyone kind of looked at them as fraudulent when the Ravens, who, by the way, was the worst pass defense in the National Football League at that time, when the Ravens smacked them around, everyone started looking at the Bills sideways. Washington, Detroit, about to be a shootout. That's exactly what I said. Bills Ravens about to be a movie, and I'm ready to watch the Rams Eagles play in the snow. Should be a fun one. I hope this is going to be a 2021 division round type situation where all 4 games are great. Even still, this weekend should be the best football we see all year. Absolutely. Is it possible Marcus Williams gets cut after this season? We're trying to figure that out because we paid him a huge contract, and I don't know what the Ravens' plan is on that. They've permanently benched Marcus Williams. He hasn't seen the field since like week 12. So that's what's changed the defense significantly to go from the worst passing defense in the National Football League to the best, because Marcus Williams and Eddie Jackson was so terrible. And they just had to fix that. They didn't realize Ardarius Washington was 10 times better than those two combined. So they had Ardarius Washington on the bench not playing. And then when they realized how great this guy was, they put him in the game and just said, let's run two high safeties with him. They realized in Pittsburgh, they ran two high safeties with Kyle Hamilton and Ardarius Washington, and watch Washington make play after play after play after play after play. And they realized this guy, this is better than he's 10 times better than anything you were getting from Marcus Williams or Eddie Jackson. Cut Eddie Jackson right now. Permanently bench Marcus Williams. Ardarius Washington, you do that. You're going to be right next to Kyle Hamilton. We're going to run two high safeties for the rest of the year. And since they've done that, they've been the number one defense in the National Football League. Since they did that in Week 11. So yeah, those changes are important. And because of that, Marcus Williams could get cut, but I don't know how the contract situation is going to work for them. Why is Todd Monken doing interviews? Because, unfortunately, even if you're in the playoffs, guys are getting interviews. So it is what it is. I mean, it's a poor time for that. I wish this wasn't legal and they didn't allow this, but there's nothing we can do about it. It's free game. They've allowed guys to be interviewed before. Hell, we saw this with Todd Monken and Mike McDonald last year. Only difference is Monken didn't leave. McDonald did. Aaron Glenn likely the Saints, in my opinion. We'll see. I think they could definitely use him, especially with the way their defense plays. But yeah, that is all for me. That is my wild card recap. Well, not recap. My wild card preview. We have not recapped it. The games have not happened yet. That is my wild card preview. That is my wild card a preview. If the Ravens embarrass, you said the Ravens embarrass the Ravens. Are you saying that the Bills embarrass the Ravens, or if the Ravens embarrass the Bills? And who would need to be banished to the bowels? Oh, Marcus Williams? Are you saying if the Bills embarrass the Ravens, he needs to be banished, or are you saying if the Ravens embarrass the Bills? Like, which one are you specifically saying? Because if the Ravens embarrass the Bills, they need to banish Sean McDermott to the bowels. I'm not gonna lie. I don't see the Ravens embarrassing the Bills, but they got a tall task. Does anybody? I've asked this all week. What is the game plan for stopping Derrick Henry? I explained it. I made a 40-minute video on my preview for this game. What is the game plan for stopping Derrick Henry? Because Baltimore is now running a thing they didn't run when they faced off against them in Week 4. They were in a lot of 22 and 21 personnel. They're switching it up and going heavy. They didn't do this in the first matchup. What they're doing now that they didn't do in Week 4, they're putting out. We have our offensive lineman in Jones. They bring him in the game. The Ravens are running 6 offensive linemen. So they're running 6 offensive linemen, 2 of their tight ends, and their 300-pound fullback. So you got 6 offensive linemen, all around 300 pounds. Your 2 tight ends, we have 3 tight ends that can block. Andrews, Likely, and Kolar, all around 250. So 6 O-linemen that are around 300 pounds, 2 tight ends that are about 250, and a 300-pound fullback. They're running that formation out there. 6 O-linemen, 2 blocking tight ends, and a fullback that can block. And they're doing all of that to give any sort of space for Derrick Henry to go off. They did that against Pittsburgh, and they smoked them. And Pittsburgh is built to stop a running game like Baltimore. They showed they could do it when they faced off against Derrick Henry the first time around in Pittsburgh. But since then, Baltimore made the adjustments. And they have no answer for that. So my question is, for people that are going to get on Sean McDermott's case, if this ends up looking bad, what is the defensive game plan you can come up with to deal with that? Because remember, the Bills don't have the physical bodies that Pittsburgh or Kansas City has. They're light in the box. So what could they do to stop the run game with Derrick Henry, especially if Baltimore commits to it with 6 offensive linemen, 2 blocking tight ends, and a 300-pound fullback? And then what would they have to do afterwards when it comes to the read option, where Lamar is going to read the defense? If you overcommit to Derrick Henry, he pulls the ball and take off on the edge. If you commit too much to Lamar Jackson, he lets go the ball, and it's a light box versus Derrick Henry. So I'm not going to blame, and I can't hold it on Sean McDermott. Him and that defensive coordinator are going to do whatever they can to slow down Derrick Henry. But when the Ravens commit to running the ball like this, what do you do? Like, I'm serious. I've watched all week on these TV shows. All these sports analysts have been talking about this matchup in terms of what do you do to stop Derrick Henry. Not a single one of them have an answer. So if these analysts are out here that don't have an answer, what can you do? The Bills have Josh Allen. Absolutely. But if it's just Josh Allen that you're throwing out there, that's not enough. So what you need to say is they have Josh Allen and they have James Cook. Because it can't just be Allen by himself. Oh, we just got Josh Allen. That's cool. They've got Derrick Henry that can rip your defense apart. And if you focus too much on him, they've got Lamar Jackson. So just saying Bills have Josh Allen is not enough. It's just not enough. So what you need to say is Bills have Josh Allen and James Cook, and they've got guys that they can trust in the pass game. Because if it's just Josh Allen going to throw at me, oh, the Bills got Josh Allen. That's not enough to win the game. That's not even close to being enough to win the game in a matchup like this. If that offense leaves Josh Allen to dry, meaning if that Baltimore defense shuts down James Cook and these receivers can't win their matchup, you're done. If you're just going to say, we've got Josh Allen, we're going to win, that's not going to help you out at all. Because I could sit back and say, as a Ravens fan, we got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So you got Josh Allen, we got Lamar and Derrick Henry. The Ravens are putting 6 offensive linemen on the field, 2 blocking tight ends, and a 300-pound fullback to block 9 guys so Derrick Henry can match up against 2 guys they'll have to stop him in the box. How are they going to figure that out? And when they choose not to do that, they'll do the zone read option where Lamar can keep it if the defense overcommits to Henry, and if they if they commit too much to Lamar, he just lets Derrick Henry go in the light box. So how are they supposed to stop that? If your answer is we Bills have Josh Allen, Ravens season's a bust if they lose to Kansas City again. We can't talk about Kansas City because they have to get there. Kansas City has to handle business Saturday. Baltimore has to handle business Sunday. If both teams handle business, I'll be back next week to talk about that. Because that game is an entirely different conversation. That game is an entirely different conversation in terms of how the Ravens will have the game plan. The game plan that they could have for the Bills and the game plan they have for the Ravens against the Steelers won't work against the Chiefs. The Kings-Rocky game is nuts. I'm going to check out the highlights afterwards. Lamar needs to play running back for the playoffs. The more he runs, the better off he will. I don't think he needs to play running back for the playoffs. I think he just has to be the dual threat he is, which is what we've been asking him to do. Be the dual threat. For some reason, at times, he's been reluctant to run the football in the playoffs. Be the dual threat he is. Utilize your gifts. This is what you saved your legs for, the postseason. Take off if nothing's there, which he's been doing so far. Utilize the read option, which is what he's been doing so far. But we don't need him to play running back. We need him to be the dual threat quarterback he is. All I keep hearing is Lamar is going to choke and this and that, and this and that. Oh, sorry. All I hear is Lamar is going to choke and this and that. I keep telling people this Lamar is different. They seem to not realize some all-time greats took time to get over the hump. I'm not interested in the aspect of Lamar going to choke and all that stuff. The narrative is always going to be the narrative until you prove it wrong. If Baltimore goes out there and loses to Buffalo on Sunday, the narrative is going to continue to be spoken aloud until you prove it wrong. So I don't really care about the narrative. You're not going to convince anybody that the narrative is dead this week. The only way you can convince the people the narrative is dead is if he goes on to win the Super Bowl. That's it. So beating Pittsburgh and playing well and looking like Lamar Jackson and dominating from start to finish is not enough to convince people that he can do this consistently in the playoffs. Go do it next week against the Bills. Go do it this week against the Bills, and then go do it next week against Kansas City or Houston, and then go to the Super Bowl and win the game. You get the ring, everybody shuts the hell up. You don't, the narrative continues. That's sports. The greater the player, the louder noise will be if you haven't won a championship. And it'll be there until you win a championship. So trying to convince people this week is not enough. It's not enough. Think the Ravens are going to beat the Bills. I have the Ravens winning this game. I have them winning 24-20. I think it's going to be a close game. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Marcus Williams needs to be banished to the bowels. He needs to be gone either way. Win or lose, he's got to be gone. It's not like he's going to play. It's Kansas City's their problem. Kansas City is their problem for several aspects because they match up. Baltimore matches up very well against Kansas City. The problem is Kansas City also matches up well against Baltimore. And if they don't have Zay Flowers, it's a different conversation, bro. If they don't have Zay Flowers, it's a different conversation. See, with Buffalo, if Zay Flowers is not there, because of how Buffalo doesn't match up well with the run game and Derrick Henry, you could still see them if they're able to get comfortable running the football against Buffalo. You can still see them win this game. And you've got Bateman, you've got Likely, you've got Andrews to win one-on-one matchups, which they consistently have done all season and can continue to consistently do. They have game plans that can work against Buffalo. Dog. The game plan that they can run against Buffalo and the game plan they can run against Pittsburgh, they can't do it against Kansas City. They absolutely can't. So Zay Flowers is required if they get to Kansas City next week. But we can't talk about next week. We've got to focus on Sunday. I wonder if there's anything Michael Vick has better than Lamar Jackson as a dual threat quarterback. I'm so tired of Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick comparisons. I'm not interested in doing that. Michael Vick was the great in his era. He established that aspect. No matter what, that dude is a legend. No matter what you want to say, the Michael Vick experience was something we had never seen. I'm not here to compare Michael Vick to Lamar Jackson. Just not interested in doing that. The constant comparisons and debates, I'm just not interested in that. He could not force the ball down the field. If it's not there, run that rock. Man, I would love, on BD Sports, I would love to show you this clip. Man, I would love to show you a clip. Because they were showing that on the Ravens Wire. Matter of fact, I know I'm going to get copyright for this, but I don't think I really care. Let me see if I can pull that up. I know I like the video. And I don't even know if you're going to hear it. But it was Lamar, and he was talking about a touchdown that he had to Rashad Bateman. Man, it's got to be here somewhere. I'm not even gonna lie, I can't find this. Wait, let me see. Would it be loud enough for me to play? Let me see. So I'm to the right. I said, all right. So I'm gonna try my best to make this sound. I'm gonna get copyrighted for this, but I don't really care. So let's play it as best as we can to the mic.
On that touchdown, Minka was back, but he was reading my eyes. So I moved to the right. I said, all right. Then I had to beat 20. That's why I threw it like that. That's why I was going to throw it, but throw it away. I'm playing smooth. I ain't nothing we ain't forcing. No. The most we can get out of that right there is a field goal. That's what I was counting. I said, if we don't get nothing going, field goal.
So I have no idea how that was actually heard here. But basically, Lamar was talking about the touchdown that he had with Minka Fitzpatrick. And the one thing he emphasized there is that he's not going to force the ball. If it's not there, throw it away. He says, I'm playing smooth. I'm not forcing, I'm not forcing SH, I'm not forcing anything. That's basically what he said, just to kind of PC it. So he's like, yeah, I'm playing smooth. I'm not forcing anything. If it's not there, throw the ball away. We got a field goal. At the end of the day, I know we play for 3. If it's not there, field goal. So, yeah, Lamar, again, this is his words, not mine. Lamar is not looking to force the ball. If there's anything he probably took away from that AFC Championship game last year is to not force the football. He tried to force the football to Isaiah Likely. He's not looking to force the football anymore. That's a big part of why he has only thrown 4 picks. If it's not there, Lamar's going to either take off or throw the ball away. Lamar has not put the ball in danger this year. 41 touchdowns to 4 interceptions is exactly why I feel a lot more comfortable that Lamar is not going to force the play. But hearing it from his own word, from his own mouth, him saying, I'm not going to force it. I'm playing smooth. I'm not trying to force it. If it's not there, throw the ball away. So he's not looking to force the ball. If it's not there, he'll take off and run or throw the ball away. That's his words, not mine. We'll see if he lives up to those words. The goalpost always moves. It's ridiculous. It is what it is, man. It's sports. I got Lamar throwing for 254 touchdowns and 70 rush yards and Derrick Henry for 110 yards on a touchdown. How high of a scoring game do you think this is going to be? You think they're going to put 35 points on them again? Hey, man, if they do that, spectacular. I will push my agendas if that's the stat line. But I don't see them scoring 30-plus points in this game. But we'll see. You know what shows that we're different this time around is we conquered our kryptonite in the Steelers. We've been overcoming adversity all year. I mean, yeah, we've been overcoming adversity all year, but we have to continue to overcome it. Just because you overcome one adversity doesn't mean you're prepared to. Doesn't mean you're going. You can be prepared for it, but it doesn't mean you're going to overcome the next adversity. We've never won multiple playoff games with Lamar, so that's an aspect that you can showcase for adversity. We also haven't. Last time we were in Buffalo, we lost to them in the division round. That's another aspect of adversity. So you haven't won multiple you haven't won multiple playoff games in a single run, and you haven't won in Buffalo in the playoffs. Those are 2 elements that you can add to that. That's more adversity. Let's see if the Ravens can get it done. Zachary Orr has to show up. Absolutely, that is what he needs to do. To be fair, quarterbacks like Randall Cunningham, Stephen Nair, Steve Young, with Lamar and Vic before Lamar and Vic. I mean, yeah, I mean, absolutely, they're the pioneers that started the aspect of dual threat quarterbacks. But the Vic experience is the aspect that kind of took as that kind of changed the overall aspect of this. All these black quarterbacks are offshoots of Vic. Sure. Um, Henry should get 150 yards, man. If they commit to the running game, he will. I've got Mahomes and Stroud on my fantasy football ticket. I need lights out from both of them for the points. We'll see what happens. Both those defenses that they have, Houston and Kansas City defense is tough, so we'll see how that goes. Derrick Henry's about to break the record for most rushing yards in a playoff game. I don't see that happening. If the Bills let that happen, they're getting blown out. I know it's Ravens topic, but how you feel about Jimmy wanting to leave and Hero stepping up? I made a tweet about it earlier on. I said, I'm focused on the Ravens playoff run, but I gave credit to Tyler Hero stepping up, even with the Jimmy situation being tough. We have no idea what's going to happen with that. Whether they're going to trade him, whether they're going to keep him for the rest of the year. Whatever happens with that happens. But I gave credit to Tyler Hero on one of my tweets. So, yeah, shout out to him. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. We'll just see how things go. Bills got a much healthier roster this time. Game could be interesting. It should be interesting. Both teams are several times better than they were in Week 4. They stay in the Bills. They're saying the Bills game's going to be a single-digit temperature on Sunday. Yep, it's going to be. They said around 7 or 8 degrees. So it's going to be single digits. It's going to be the coldest game apparently Lamar Jackson is going to play in. So all of a sudden that automatically means they're going to lose the game. I guess I just want the game to get over with, man. Too many people are bored on Twitter and coming up with whatever they can come up with to try to push this. Whatever it is, man. Steelers said the same thing about their secondary being hurt when we beat them in the first time, and we faced them healthy in the playoffs and cooked them. I don't care if the Bills got a few players back. It's going to be a much closer game. Obviously, players being back matters because those are key players on your defense that can make plays for you. So I wouldn't say that it doesn't matter. Just because you beat the Steelers does not mean you're going to beat the Bills. Those players that they were missing are key players that help improve their run defense. So they're going to matter if they're going to have any shot at winning this game. So they are important pieces. And those guys could be the difference makers in keeping this game close. Because if they don't step up and do their jobs, it's a blowout. What was the coldest game Lamar Jackson ever played in? I don't remember the game, but it was at 17 degrees. It was like a game that was like 17 degrees or something like that. But he's never played in single degree weather. I was hoping the Ravens got Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill hasn't been traded yet, but apparently a lot of reports are saying the Ravens could, or the Ravens should, I don't know if it's could or should trade Tyreek Hill for a second round pick. I think people are predicting that to happen. If the Ravens win against the Bills conference, if the Ravens win against Bills conference against, think we go in the conference. If the Ravens will win against the Bills, do you think we go what? If the Ravens win against Bills conference against, think we going in confidence against Kansas City Chiefs? Okay, so you're saying if the Ravens beat the Bills, do you think we're gonna go into Kansas City the conference championship against Kansas City with some confidence? I mean, if you win the game and you get to the conference championship, there's going to be a level of confidence that we can't do this. But Baltimore, this is apparently a year of redemption. All the narratives that have been placed on them, they're trying to beat. So going to Kansas City won't be going to Kansas City with confidence. You're always gonna have confidence in yourself in winning, but it's going to be going into Kansas City with a level of focus. This is the team you lost to in the AFC title game last year. So if they get back to the title game against this very same team, it's going to be less about confidence and more about focus, because this is something you got to get done to try to get over the hump. So we'll see what happens. They're not stopping Derrick Henry in this cold. Their bones won't handle it. We'll see what happens, man. I don't think they're going to stop Derrick Henry, but at the end of the day, they got to slow him down and contain him as much as possible. Bills game supposed to be 17 degrees, not single digits. Well, I think they said it was supposed to be 17 degrees, but it's supposed to feel like the true wind. I don't even know the name of it. They said the true feel of it will be like 9 degrees. Or even lower than that. Because like they have the degree. People have been saying it's going to be single digits. People are saying it's going to be colder and colder. I don't know how cold it's going to be, but either way, it's supposed to be the coldest game Lamar's ever played in. Whatever. It's the cold is the cold. They're going to have to go play. Would you go to the Bills-Ravens game for free in that weather? I'm not traveling to Buffalo. I'm not traveling to Buffalo. I'm just not traveling to Buffalo. So, no. I'm not traveling to Buffalo. I'm hoping the Ravens win, but Lamar not putting up too many stats. I don't have him on my fantasy ticket. Well, that makes sense. Well, if you're hoping the Ravens win, but Lamar doesn't put up many stats, then hope Derrick Henry goes off for 200. The only way Lamar's not going to put up too much stats is if Derrick Henry rushes for 200 yards and the Ravens dominate. Mahomes is a different animal, though. Yeah, Mahomes is a different animal, but it's not just Mahomes. It's Mahomes, and it's Kelsey, and it's Andy Reid, and it's Chris Jones. I know we like to just believe Mahomes is doing this by himself, apparently, but no, it takes a unit to be able to do it. So it's not just Mahomes. Kelsey's a different animal. He's arguably the greatest tight end to ever play. Chris Jones is an animal. And with the way Andy Reid is, he's arguably the greatest offensive minded coach we've ever seen in the history of football. So, yeah. Ravens give me 2006, 2007 Colts vibes. I mean, we said that last year. Some people were trying to push that last year, and we saw that worked out. Wishing for a KC-Ravens standoff. Talk about ratings. I said this. Chiefs-Bills is historically the better matchup. Chiefs-Ravens is aesthetically the better matchup. Historically, the better matchup because Allen Mahomes, every time they've been in the playoffs, has been a classic. But aesthetically, it's a better matchup because you have two future Hall of Famers on one side and Kelsey Mahomes, and two future Hall of Famers on the other side and Lamar Jackson. You got one side of two future Hall of Famers looking to make history and do something that's never been done. Three-peat, and you got another set of future Hall of Famers that are looking to get their first ring. So aesthetic-wise, it would be great. If you saw a Christmas game, you saw Kelsey Mahomes get those Christmas jackets, and then you saw it later at night, Lamar and Henry get those Christmas jackets. That's how they're going to promote it. Mahomes and Kelsey versus Lamar and Henry. A battle of future Hall of Famers. Aesthetic-wise, that would be the better matchup. Historical-wise, the better matchup would be the Bills because of how the Bills and Chiefs have played in the AFC, how they played in the playoffs with each other. I know you don't want to get frostbite in Buffalo. I'm not going into that cold. Nah. Main difference between Mahomes and Lamar is that Mahomes can make all the throws. Lamar still struggles with that despite the 2 MVPs. Lamar has actually made those throws this season. Like I said, if it was previous years, you have me. But if you watch Lamar this season, he's made all... Matter of fact, the funny part about this, if you look at every possible passing statistic, Lamar is at the top of it. He has thrown everything against man coverage, zone, blitz, whatever you want to throw out there. Inside the numbers, outside the numbers, all over. I got to find the chart. I will give you that if I can find the chart. Someone made the chart of showing every single angle, every single aspect, every single spot on the field in terms of Lamar's throwing prowess this year. I wouldn't say Lamar can't make all the throws. This year's Lamar has made all the throws. Maybe you can argue previous years. Like 2023, I still think he made most of the throws, but there were some throws he didn't. This year's Lamar has made all the throws. From the short, intermediate, the deep ball game, inside the numbers, outside the numbers, he has made all the throws. So you can't say that about this year's Lamar. You don't get 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions if you ain't made all the throws. He has absolutely made all the throws. And there is actual charts and analytics that have shown he's made all the throws. And how he's been consistent in doing that. Because that matters the most. This year Lamar is far different than 2023 Lamar and 2019 Lamar. If we go by that, the Houston Divisional game last year was supposed to be Lamar's coldest game. It was like 5 with the wind breeze. Again, Lamar's played in cold games. He has one of the highest passer rating in cold games, and he's never been affected by the cold, so he's going to be fine. It's not going to be a concern. Eagles Commanders NFC title game would feed the streets. I would love to see if that happens. You think Reed's better mind than Bill Walsh? That's a tough one. Head-to-head, that's a tough one. Legitimately head-to-head, that is a tough one. I would still lean with Walsh. That's why I said Reed is one of, if not the best, but I'd say more so one of. I still think I'll lead with Bill Walsh. Bills versus the Ravens is what we deserve. We'll see what happens. What do you think of Lamar's MVP chances? Personally, don't care. If they give it to Josh, congrats to him. He absolutely deserves it. If they give it to Lamar, congrats. He absolutely deserves it. I don't care about the MVP. I want to win the Super Bowl. That's all my focus is on. Lamar is going to be the X factor. The Bills are going to fully sell out to stop the run. I guess. I looked at Derrick Henry being more the X factor because he determines the game. The X factor for the Ravens, I said Derrick Henry because he ultimately determines the game. Same for James Cook for the Bills. Think Lamar Jackson versus Mahomes, more views than Allen versus Mahomes? I don't know. I have no clue if that would be the case. This game will be won in the trenches. Absolutely. Let's see who's going to be the tougher physical team in the cold on Sunday. Shout out to DeMar DeRozan. Dude balled out tonight. DeRozan usually balls out. Shout out to him. I know we're talking about Washington, but I got them on the money line for the upset. I picked the Washington Commanders to upset the Lions anyway, so we'll see what happens. Sean Payne's another one of the... Sean Payne's definitely another one of those guys that you would actually say that on. So, yeah. But anyway, guys, I have been here for damn near 2 hours. I'm going to cut it short here. This has been the NFL. I can't cut it short here. I've been here for literally 2 hours, but I'm going to cut it here. This has been the NFL Divisional Round predictions. We got our predictions. We've got the Chiefs winning 24-17. We've got the Commanders pulling off the upset, either 38-31 or 38-35 or 44-41, because the only way the Commanders going to win this is in the shootout. That defense ain't good enough to stop a damn thing. That defense can't stop the run or the pass. If the Commanders going to pull off the upset, they're going to have to win in the shootout. I got the Eagles beating the Rams 25-17 or 25-20. I don't know which one. And then I said I'm going to pick the Bills over the Ravens 24-20. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. With that being said, I appreciate you guys. Yes, I will be streaming Ravens versus. I'm streaming all the playoff games. I am streaming all the playoff games. So yeah, I will be streaming all the playoff games. I'll be here for the playoff game tomorrow. Well, yeah, today's Friday now. So I'll be here for the playoff games tomorrow, aka Saturday, and I will be here for the playoff games on Sunday. So we'll see what happens. With that being said, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to bed. I got work tomorrow. So you guys take care. Be sure to stay safe. Oh, you talking about someone else. I was like, I ain't got the Bills winning. Be sure to stay safe and peace out.